Okay, we're here at the Rothe farm. You primarily deal in tree fruits,
Yes,
and he's also got it's
yes,
biodynamics.
yes. I do a lot of composting.
Okay,
Composting is the cornerstone of biodynamic farming.
okay,
Non-reliance on outside inputs as far as fabricated fertilizers, whether it's organic. There's a lot of organic fertilizers now that are available. So there's larger farms now that will find it very difficult to supply as much compost as would be needed, let's say on a 600-acre farm. So there are now fertilizers that will do the same thing that are made from animal byproducts, etc., etc. I don't particularly say these things are wrong. I just think that they, like with anything, can be misused. And why I come back to composting is because composting requires a 2 to 3 year turnover of animal vegetable matter and rigorous not testing but monitoring of the compost pile and the temperature to make sure all pathogens, anything that is that would be not good for the soil in a raw form would be then broken down, and you'd eventually have a type of raw humus. Raw humus is not to be confused with let's say raw manure or anything like that. Raw humus takes thousands of years to build up, as we saw in the big plains. But with our composting, we can build up a form of humus, and it smells like soil and everything else. And at that stage, we then put it onto the land. And that's the cornerstone of biodynamics. There's also a number of preparations, which you have in your green sheet there that I gave you, that are very instrumental in organizing, as Rudolf Steiner put it, organizing the compost pile, organizing the different activities that go on with the various components that are important for plant life: calcium, phosphorus, potassium, those type of things that are part of the carbon, that are all nitrogen, that are all part of the plant kingdom in terms of their nutrition. So that these preparations are seen more or less like as uh, think of them more as adding, when you make a meal, you add certain herbs. You don't make your whole meal out of those herbs, but they add a tremendous essence to the food that you're doing and also aid in the digestion. I mean, we all understand that.
yeah,
I think from lots of the food networks, we realize that, small amounts of different things can have a very positive effect on your experience, on your eating experience, and on your body. So that's the same thing goes with the soil, and that's the whole idea with the compost and the use of preparations. And so for biodynamics, organic biodynamic farming, it's not so much what you don't do; it's what you do, and that's the cornerstone. You will find you would not undermine that by using all kinds of contrary death type chemicals such as herbicides and other sprays that are designed purely to kill, broad spectrum killing. Obviously, they made great strides in targeting only certain insects with certain things, and there are some organic sprays such as Entrust, which are very beneficial, have a very targeted effect on certain things. But when you start thinking about herbicides and the large use of herbicides, everything is designed to kill. Kill the bad guys, kill the bad weeds. And as you saw in your photos there, we just took some photographs of some beautiful plants that could very well be seen as weeds. But the bees are around them. And that's the important part, is that we maintain that type of liveliness in our farm. And you won't find our farm that you will find that there's earwigs, you will find that there's ants, you'll find spiders, you'll find a whole array of insects that you generally would not find in a conventional farm, because with the amount of spraying and the killing that gets done, there can only be one thing left. Nothing It's a dead atmosphere other than the trees are flourishing and everybody says, oh, how wonderful. But this has all been done through chemistry. And the biggest fear that has been brought up and that I've heard in the media has been the use of these translocating herbicides, which when they are used on a weed, translocate into the roots, and that way they kill them. Of course, they have the same effect on a tree. If the tree has shoots coming up from its root system, and the weed spray is put on that, obviously that's going to get into the tree and ultimately get into the fruit. And there's been some concern, I don't know where I heard it, but I know it's being expressed in certain publications that, you know, maybe this will have some long-term health effects, because this stuff just doesn't, I mean, it doesn't kill the tree, but obviously if it translocates into whatever weeds you're trying to get rid of, and you can see the effect on any shoots or any, you know, if there's any spray pass that goes onto a young tree that's got still a very young cambion, then you can see how that tree starts to suffer, and obviously, you know right away, well, that's being affected by a herbicide. And this is extremely dangerous situation. And when these herbicides first came out, they were making very sure that farmers were aware of this and would do all precautions in order to ensure that this herbicide does not get into the food system. In other words, does not get into any of the shoots. You know, remove all suckers, make sure that you protect the young trees, and so on and so forth. If you go now in most farms, what I see is that there's probably very little disregard. There's a lot of disregard to that, because they really don't see any end effect in their large cherry trees or their large apple trees or whatever they're spraying in order to keep the weeds down.
Well, actually, a farmer I talked to yesterday said that some of the farmers actually grow crops, use the pesticides, but have a separate crop for themselves.
Yes. Yes,
So
it's a common thing. This is something that, I mean, it's something that you might call is a not an urban legend, but is a rural legend. But I've heard it often, many times. Why would I eat off my peach tree over there? That's where I get my personal peaches from. The rest I sell to the packing house, or I sell to the public, because I've got to make money. Money is the bottom line. And you know, the fruit prices are so poor, you can understand that to a certain extent people are going to take as many shortcuts as they can.
So in other words, the system is broken.
The system is very broken, yes. The system is broken, and they're trying to make all kinds of attempts to fix it and encourage young people in it. But the last survey I did with Ag Canada this year was the average age of a farmer is 57, and it's going up. So that should tell you, you know, which direction we're going.
Well, it's a lot of the younger farmers that I've spoken with. It's the value on the land. You know, they're charging too much for farmland. The taxing, Health Canada coming in on them. You know, it seems like the more good you try to do on your farm, the bigger the roadblocks are for you.
Yeah, there's lots of regulations now, and now with organic versus non-organic, there's regulations there. There's gray areas where it's called IPM in the United States, which is integrated pest management. In other words, we're really, you know, so-called farming with a conscience. You know, I don't really know what that means, farming with a conscience. I guess it's the conscience that, you know, I got to make a buck, as opposed, so I will kind of portray myself as being, you know, really looking after the ecosystem within my farm, and you know, by only using certain chemicals. But I will use those chemicals over and over. And there doesn't seem, you know, I mean, I have no experience with that myself. I just know my own experience with my own farm.
So if maybe you can tell us, with what you grow here, do you have farm gate sales? Can people come here?
Yeah, farm gate sales is basically what I do.
Okay.
I do that. I sell some to Whole Foods, but that's through a leased operation right now. I mean, my farm is being leased and adhered to according to the PAC standards, but and it's a year-to-year lease, so it's not something I'm totally comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's just something that's now worked as a stopgap measure, just because of certain family situations and just the work situation.
Yeah.
You know, most of the people that I rely on to come and help me that have experience are elderly as I am, and the younger people really have no foundation. In other words, you first have to have some foundation in farming before you can really even entertain the thought of whether you want to do organic farming or any kind of farming. You got to have some good foundation in farming, know how to prune, understand, have a natural bent for it.
Yeah, that's why I started farm sharing, so that this way I can actually participate
You
and
can participate and learn, and that's an important thing, because we need all those facets. You got to get the message out there. Got to have people that take the time to do it. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't get this message out there. Let's say you didn't come around.
So what wonderful fruits do you grow here that people can come and buy from you?
Well, we grow peaches and nectarines of different varieties, and we're pretty much out about everything. Usually everything wraps up by the 10th. I grow a few late and early Italian prune plums. I grow cherries, early cherries. I grow Rainier cherries, as you saw when you were up last time. You've got lots of photos of that.
Yeah.
I grow all varieties of apples, starting with very earliest Sunrise, then Galas, then Ambrosias, and Pinovas, which are now called Pinatas, then Max, Spartans, Goldens, few reds still.
Wow.
Nothing in, I would grow in what I grow in largest quantities, probably Galas, Fujis, not as many as Ambrosias as I would like. I've only got a couple rows in there that I grafted over, and just didn't have the energy to start looking after more young trees. It takes an awful lot of energy to look after young trees with hand weeding, mulching, constantly hand weeding at least twice a year, and mulching and weed whacking. And then through weed whacking, you still have collateral damage, because if the weed whacker isn't experienced, he'll take the bark right off the tree. So there's a lot of issues that are, that makes organic farming just so much more expensive. Imagine somebody going by with weed spray, you're done.
Wow.
Takes them a couple of hours to do maybe a 10-acre block. 2 to 3 acres. 2 to 3 hours to do a 10-acre block, maybe with weed spray. I don't know, that's what I've heard from some people. So compare that to the 30 days, 2 people, full man hours, just to weed, let's say 5 acres of young trees, which is what I have, young cherries, young apples, and so on. So, that would certainly take about 30 days of 2 people, around $14, $15 an hour to do a good job. These are experienced people.
Yeah.
And then to mulch it. And then you still got to buy the mulch hay. Then you got to try to get the mulch hay from an organic source. And all those things I've been successful in over the years, moving in that direction, because there are more organic farmers in the prairies, so I can connect with them, I can network with them.
Okay, one other question here. With the biodynamics, everything you're doing here, do you offer any new farmers or farmers that would like to change their ways, if they can actually contact you and you can give them maybe some guidance or something?
Yeah, I've always been open to that. It's not something that other farmers have asked me about it. I think for them it's a little bit strange, because in Europe it's certainly not a strange phenomenon, because they have colleges there. They have, for instance, in England, Emerson College. They have also in Germany and Sweden. They have many centers that do practice, and they're communal centers. I've been there, I've seen it. They've had, they have a fully integrated farm. They've got a bakery. They've got this. They grow all the different things, and it's all integrated. They grow, they have their own animals. They make their cheese and this and that, and so they have many hands rather than just specialized.
Okay.
See, I'm very specialized. That's what I have. I'm very extremely specialized here. So.
Okay, in closing here, Martin, do you have a website that people can find you at?
No, I have no website. I just have a fax number and an email. I have no website at all, just because.
So we can find your farm. He's in Oliver here on Highway 97,
yes.
Road 7.
Yeah.
As well, you can find all the information on the calendar with the beautiful things that Martin does here.
That pretty much would do it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Okay, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thanks for the interview.